Hi guys, welcome back. You remember in I Dream of Jeannie, Jeannie could actually blink herself thin, right? Well, Uproots Wellness here says she can help you think yourself thin. Let's hear what she has to say.
Come and actually stand up for what I believe in, which is that losing weight can be the most empowering experience for you if you're doing it for you. And if you genuinely want to change your body, then that is your goddamn right, girl or boy or whomever. So I am going to get the courage for you to come out and talk about weight loss, hardcore, empowering, healthy, holistic, wellness related weight loss with the goal of getting into a better body without holding anything back. So, the very first step is your mindset. The very first step is getting into the right frame of mind. And this has nothing to do with the law of attraction. This is not hokey pokey, whatever. If you want to do anything in the entire world, your mindset is the very first step. If you want to go to school, you want to be an athlete, you want to be a musician, you want to attain any goal whatsoever, getting your mind in the right frame is absolutely integral. It is the foundation. It's the very, very first thing you do. But your mindset is also what is going to keep you on the road towards your goals. And weight loss is no different. And the reason that diet culture has failed so profoundly is that losing weight isn't actually about loss at all. So it isn't losing anything, it's gaining health. It's gaining, oh my God, I think my yoga mats are going to blow right off the thing. Hey, baby, can you grab the mats? They're like crazy around blowing.
He's like, "You're not live. Can you just hit pause and get your own dang mats?"
Can you grab the mats? It's hurricane season. Whoa. So weight loss isn't about losing anything. This idea that we have to take things out of our lives in order to be in our ideal bodies is just completely bogus. Weight loss, what we actually mean by weight loss, which is getting into our ideal bodies, which is getting fit, which is getting lean, which is getting strong, all of these things, they have everything to do with getting in touch, gaining harmony, gaining contact with our ideal body nature, with our true, natural, healthy form. So I always say to think about animals and children. We're not made to be fat. And this is why it's just so tough to talk about weight loss and to be part of this industry.
But I love what she said there. I never really look at that. I look at it as in, hey, we're going to do some hard work and we're going to lose some weight, right? How can we make this as fun as possible? But maybe that is a better way to look at it. We're going to be adding some positive, healthy attributes to our life. That does seem a little bit more appealing if you think about it.
It's just it peddles this idea of like war against yourself, and like that's never going to win. You're never going to gain like freedom through restricting yourself, or like gain love and joy through starting a war inside. That's just never going to happen. Here's 10 ways to think yourself thin and cultivate a weight loss mindset. Okay, number one, accept that mindset is making you overweight. Now, I'm really sorry to get up in your face like this right off the bat, but it is because I truly care about you, and facing reality as it is something that is just so important in getting to this goal, because you need to change, right? You want a change, which it is necessarily kind of contradictory to what you already are. So there's going to be a bunch of things in you that are contradictory to the change that you actually want. Number two is taking responsibility for your healing, but not for your weight. So this goes in the same hand in hand as the mindset. You taking responsibility for the fact that your mindset is contributing. It's a contributing factor, if not the leading factor, of you being overweight or being in a body that you don't feel comfortable in. However, being in that body or even having that mindset, that is not your fault. So that mindset, that body, you'll have all of these inherited behaviors, choices. So all the shame and the blame that you've absorbed about your body, if you have been shamed and blamed about being overweight, even if that shame and blame is coming from inside, that is not your fault. Just as much as I know that your mindset is contributing to your weight gain, I also know that you'll have all kinds of inherited behaviors and thought patterns and beliefs that totally contribute to you being in a body that is out of touch with your ideal form.
Look, even if you blame your mom, dad, and all your grandparents for your weight issues, you still got to walk it off from this point on. So if you want, get your socks on. We're going to be walking here in a minute. Do it.
Either way, it's not your fault. Number three, commit to forming one healthy habit at a time. Brains can't handle a whole bunch of new things at once.
That's really true. I like how she said that. So, yes, I'm a firm believer in baby steps as well. Did you go get your socks on like I told you a minute ago?
But when we focus our minds on one thing, forming one habit at a time, they can be a powerhouse in driving productivity towards that one thing. Number four, figure out what scares you about being in your best body. I know this sounds absolutely ludicrous, right? Like, what the hell is going to scare me from being in my best body? I'm going to look great. I'm going to feel great. I'm going to be able to wear whatever I want, etc., etc., etc. But the truth is, along with this idea of change, who you are right now has an indentured sense of self that is overweight. Your weight is actually kind of like a security blanket around you. For whatever reason, for a whole host of different reasons, we can carry this extra weight to protect ourselves. Being seen, being vulnerable, being truly seen in our true form is going to be something that is very daunting. There are so many reasons. What about people that you hang out with that might judge you? People who might not want to hang out with you anymore, getting rejected by people whom you love based on you making a significant change in your life. These are all very, very real fears. So if you get in touch with what scares you about losing weight, you can actually kind of like let those fears, the boogeyman, from underneath the bed or out of the closet, so that it's not hidden anymore. You can actually address the fears head on.
Elizabeth Shue, when you meet somebody for the first time and you talk to them or they talk to you for just 30 seconds, you develop some thoughts in your head about that person. One of the first things that we do is we decide if we should be defensive and if they're a little aggressive, right? Or if they're really mild. And in her case, I don't know if you guys agree or not, but I think she seems like the type that would be a wonderful friend. She seems like the type that has a genuine good heart. And she seems like the type that if you do want to learn new stuff about weight loss, and when I say new stuff, I mean something outside of just diet and exercise.
Okay. Number five, practice gratitude. And I know I promised to give you unique stuff, and I know that Practicing gratitude isn't really all that unique, but it is so freaking powerful that it's just, I couldn't leave it out. There's no way that I could possibly leave it out. Okay, number 6, embrace going forward, not backward. Okay, so I don't want to hear any of this like getting back into those jeans from high school, or getting back to my yoga practice, or getting back to my pre-body weight, or anything like that. Excuse me. All of those things can be goals, but I don't want you to think of back as being part of it. So forward has limitless possibilities. Forward, you could be in a better body than you can even imagine now. Forward is the best health of your life. And I mean, you're not setting your sights very high if all you want to do is get back to some way that you used to be. I want you to always be looking towards the future and not back. You can compare yourself today to how you were at a different time, just to know where you're at and to get really real with yourself. But other than that, back is never a goal. Okay.
See, this is what I was talking about earlier, that she's best friend material. She's told a half dozen girls in her life about how they need to move forward and not go back to that ex-boyfriend, right? But if you guys go get your socks on and you're ready for a walk, I'm going to help you get that ex-boyfriend back. Just kidding. Just kidding. Totally kidding. We're going to move forward as well.
Just let it go. Maybe there are some physical limitations to what you can or can't accomplish. But essentially, with enough time and resources, you can actually do anything. If you wanted to go and live on Mars, you just have to wait a matter of a decade or so before, SpaceX has a colony. I hope I'm not scaring everybody off by getting in space. Okay, number 8. Here I go being a jerk again. I want you to anticipate failure. Yeah. Okay. So listen, this is for your own good. You are not perfect. I mean, you are perfect in your total imperfection. This is something that is just a base truth. You're fallible, as am I. Everyone is, and that's okay. You need to give yourself time and patience. You also need to anticipate that you are going to, fall off the wagon. You're going to mess up. And, sometimes you're just going to have to pick yourself up, back up, and get back on the wagon because you did mess up, and that's okay. And sometimes, your mess ups aren't actually going to be mess ups at all. They're actually going to be part of a healthy life. But what you're going to do is you might possibly, not be able to foresee what that looks like in the future, and you might see it as a failure. So I want you to anticipate what's going to mess you up and what, might throw you off the wagon, and what you're going to do about it when, and not if, that happens. We're not going to make this like a New Year's resolution that is like completely forgotten by February, okay? Number 9, rework your self-talk tool. You know what I'm talking about when I say the self-talk tool, right? It's your internal mental chatter. It's the way that you speak to yourself. And I know you've heard this before, to be a good friend to yourself. But did you know that the way that you see yourself, the way that you discuss yourself with yourself, like say when you look in the mirror and you say, oh my gosh, I'm a big fat cow, and we're all guilty of this. It's definitely like, it's not okay, but it's not your fault if this is happening again. It's just your responsibility. So they found that the way that we speak to ourselves actually dictate whether we gain weight or not. Okay, so this is incredibly important for you to watch your self-talk and to speak to yourself like you're an actual friend. Speak to yourself like you would want to speak to one of your best friends if you were being a very, very good, thoughtful friend at that point in time, okay? All right, number 10. Give yourself a present and stay in the present. All of your actions and all of your behaviors, all of your choices, everything that ever happens in your life happens now.
I loved her, and I wish you guys could hear the music she had playing in the background. The only way you can is to check out her channel. Again, it's called Uproots Wellness. I'll link it in our description code here. But I'm not going to tell you again. Go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. I don't know if you guys can see that dog there, but that female dog, I just saw something amazing. That female dog took not one, but crossed 2 streets using the crosswalk that way and then the crosswalk that way. And look, she's on her way home. That is amazing. That dog has taken so many walks with its owner, I'm guessing, that it knows to go via the crosswalk. Because think about it, an animal's instinct would most likely be to go in a straight direction, but that dog was smart enough to take both crosswalks. That's a little bizarre. I've been watching a lot of videos recently where they've been showing animals doing human things. Right there, I just saw an animal doing a human thing. I wish I would have turned the camera around, but I didn't realize it at first. At first, it was just a dog crossing the street in the crosswalk, right? No big deal. But then when it crosses the other street in the crosswalk, instead of just diagonally crossing like you figure a wild animal would, that just goes to show you the dog has that memory of, hey, I need to cross here at the crosswalk. That's crazy. I saw a video the other day, it was a short, and it was showing animals doing human things. And the one that really amazed me out of the 3 or 4 things they showed in this short was they showed this bear walking down a street and a traffic cone had fallen over, and the bear pulled the traffic cone back up into the proper position and then just walked on. And I just thought, wow, that is kind of human, acting. So I thought that was amazing. But I'm going to talk with you a little bit about the mental aspect of walking, but from a different point of view. So I was reading today on the Good News Network, by the way, they sometimes have stories, but they sometimes are slow with coming up with new ones, okay? So the story they were talking about today is that in pomegranates, which some of us eat pomegranates on the norm or on the regular, and some of us eat them very, very rarely once in a blue moon. I would be one of these guys that I eat them very rarely once in a blue moon. And this pomegranate apparently has an ingredient in it that when they give it to mice and rats, apparently it really helps them with their memory when it comes to Alzheimer's. Somehow they have mice that have Alzheimer's. I don't know if they infected them with Alzheimer's or if they legitimately have it. I'm assuming they infected them in some way, shape, or form. But whatever, apparently this ingredient in pomegranates really helps them. Now, I don't have too much to say about it. And since this guy is mowing his yard, oh, he stopped mowing. Hey, good morning. I don't have too much to say about the pomegranates. I think it's wonderful that it works in mice. They don't know if that would transition to humans, but, because you might have to eat 1 million pomegranates to get the same result. But they're looking into it. And that's how medicine starts. They find an active ingredient, then they find a way to isolate that active ingredient, and then they find a way to concentrate that ingredient to give you a prescription level dose, right? And if that helps folks that are dealing with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, wonderful. And that was the inclination that the little report was kind of leading me to, is that in the future we might be able to use some of these natural ingredients inside pomegranates to help people that are dealing with Alzheimer's symptoms and what have you. So why do I bring that up? I don't know if you guys remember this, but if you look back at my first, I think 2 or 3 videos, I was kind of complaining about my job at the time, because at the time I was doing recruiting, and I'm still a recruiter, still same company, but I got a slightly different role. But one of the things that it was bothering me with was my stress levels were so high that I was having a hard time like finishing thoughts and sentences. And it was really freaking me out, because I was like, holy crap, this job's giving me senility and these different things. I don't even like to talk about Alzheimer's, but I felt like the stress in the job, guys, was making me where I couldn't complete thoughts and sentences. Have you ever been that stressed where you're and so upset that you just can't finish sentences, right? And I had like, no joke, probably 6 or 7 people that had gone to interviews, accepted jobs, and then for whatever reason decided not to take that job. And then imagine every week you meet with your manager to kind of go over your progress or what's going up with your work. And I had to constantly make these same reasons for why I wasn't really succeeding. And I felt like the reasons weren't necessarily 100% my fault, because if I agree on a wage to pay a worker and then another agency comes up and is willing to pay them considerably more, it was kind of like a fight that's a little unfair. But what it led me to was a situation where my stress level was just so high. And it was up there at the height that if a person was starting a physical fight with you and you would get all jacked up and, emotional or whatever, it was getting to me where it was like that. It was that severe. And the stress was making it where I literally couldn't talk. Very, very scary. So why do I mention these 2 stories? Well, guys, you have actually made me feel mentally and emotionally younger over these past 3 months. And what I mean by younger is not only am I able to talk with you guys, relatively speaking, for a half hour straight, but I'm I'm able to do it just, as I'm out at a loss for words, I'm able to just freestyle it, I don't have a list of things that I'm reading from. I might occasionally have some bullet points, right? So I can remember the names of people that I'm speaking about or the names of a hospital or a town. But predominantly speaking, I'm able to just speak with you, on a whim, right? Just walking and talking. And so you guys have really helped my mental health in that aspect, because, man, I was really freaking out there. Now, the good news is they've adjusted my role. One of the reasons they adjusted my role is because when I did talk with them one-on-one as friends, not just coworkers, they actually liked the person that I am. Which goes back to another thing that a lot of times I talk to you guys about, and that's being kind and decent. When you're a naturally kind person, not a fake kind person that's only friendly to people's faces, and then you talk smack about them behind their back. When you're a legitimate, friendly person, and you have a tendency to light up a room or to make people feel better about themselves, those are the type of people that your supervisors and your managers will go to bat for. So that when you're having a horrible situation at your job, they might keep you there. Now, some people will say, Jesse, it might have been a blessing for you to get fired, because then you can move on and get a different role, But let's be honest, in this world, when you get fired from a role, you don't know when you're going to catch another opportunity. And I didn't really want to be back in that trying to catch another opportunity mode. So the point that I'm making is, when I walk with you guys and when I talk with you guys, it makes me feel like I'm challenging my brain to come up with ideas and content, right? So I feel like my brain has taken on a little 90-day challenge. Because sometimes when we walk, we're walking predominantly in silence, right? And when you're walking in silence, you're not really communicating. And I was getting to the point where I was having a hard time communicating. Again, it's because, how do you tell your manager for the 9th time in a row, that your temp on assignment, your TOA, has backed out? Very, very stressful. But with you guys, God, I look forward to my walk with you guys. I look forward to our talk. And I think our walk can have that same benefit for you, where all of a sudden your blood's flowing a little better. If you're walking with a friend or neighbor, you're going to notice that you guys have the absolute best conversations. Something amazing happens when we start moving our feet. Something amazing happens when we start doing the right thing for our body. And then, like I said, if you can learn to make yourself feel better through your walk, maybe even lose a couple pounds so you look and feel better, right? A lot of times that shows in your interaction with your friends and coworkers. So if you're in a good mood and a good person to hang out with and talk to, and you stay positive and upbeat, a lot of times you're going to find out that your job doesn't want to get rid of you. It's real easy to get rid of jerks, It's real easy to get rid of Dales and Karens and Deborahs and Johns that are jerks. It's not so easy to get rid of people that are fun and enjoyable to work with. So am I saying stay at your job forever and always be kind so you never get fired? Yes and no. I think that longevity at a place is important, especially if you love your coworkers as your friends, right? But at the same time, every now and then, it really is fate's way of saying, get out of that job, And so just want to let you guys know that in addition to the physical benefits, which there are plenty, God, I think the mental benefits are just as equally strong. I really, really do. Because guys, you guys were kind of like a prayer answered for me. Again, if you guys remember my goal was, and my thoughts were, that I would only have a handful of subscribers for the whole year. Well, you guys have blessed me to the tune of 400 subscribers. But I want to take those 400 subscribers, and in my mind's eye, I'm pretending like there's only a dozen or so of us. Because the reality is, I want you guys to feel like it's just you and me, right? And our little group here. If I ever have the luck to have 1 million subscribers, I have a feeling that I'll still be talking to about a dozen or so of them, and I'm hoping that they're you guys, That was kind of crazy. I could hear the truck coming from a mile away because of the sound of, the sound of him hitting the gas as he goes. The car going by must have been a hybrid or an electric, because I didn't hear that at all. That was a little weird. You don't really experience that too much, where you're closer to one object but you don't notice it, but you totally notice the object down the street because it's so loud, But anyway, we've got 2 joggers coming. Jogging always looks unfun to me. It's funny, they started running in the people's yards to stay off the sidewalk, but I was in the street, so I don't really know why they were avoiding the sidewalk. Yeah, running just doesn't seem fun to me, Seems to me like running would cause a lot of knee and foot issues, especially when you look at the body type of runners. They don't really look too strong. I'm sure they're strong as heck, don't get me wrong, because their body's developing muscle and strength in a different way. But yeah, they look kind of frail. So it's kind of easy for me to see how a lot of them do have ankle and knee pain as they get older. And man, I'm telling you, when you have a chronic nagging pain, those things are really hard to ignore. That's just like the other day when I wore those sandals and I showed you guys the blisters on top of my feet from them. God, it took me 3 or 4 days for those blisters to kind of fully heal. And those blisters are not fun to deal with. So the next time you're at the grocery store or at Target, go in the pharmacy section and buy yourself those Band-Aids where they're not Band-Aids, they're more like plastic skins and they fit over your blisters. Buy yourself a small box of 10 of those, just in case in the future you do have a situation where one or both of your feet get kind of beaten up. You put those over the blister and it literally feels like the blister's gone. You know, those are really, really good and I recommend them thoroughly. But I'd like to ask you guys a question. Have you put in your walk to the test yet? Has there been any situation in your life where you actually had a problem that you tried tackling on your walk? What I mean by tackling is where you tried to come up with some solutions for it. If you have had a problem like that that's not too personal and you feel like you can share it, please do. Because again, are there physical benefits to walking? Of course, the list is almost endless. But when you also add the mental aspect and being able to clear your mind, get stress off of you, right? Get that monkey off of your back. If you're dealing with a lot of cravings, go on a walk. These walks are natural appetite suppressants. I have never been on a walk and just thought, oh my God, I want to eat. Your brain just doesn't really think about that. And another thing that I've noticed that's a benefit of the extreme heat is it does make you kind of want to walk a little faster to get through your walk a little bit quicker. At least for me it does. So I just want to let you guys know, hey, I never crossed the street here. Let's cross the street and I'll get about 50 yards worth of shade. Remember, when you're in the summer and you're walking, when it's summertime, look for the patches of shade. You might have a couple different walking areas where you live, where you got some really good trees that produce shade all the time. See if you can get a walking path that includes a little time in that shade. You know, in Arizona, we have a famous saying, hey, it's 100 degrees in the shade, right? But what they don't tell you is that still beats the 125 out of the shade, right? So stick to the shade if you can. And do what I do. Wake up and take your walk before work. By the way, this is the last 5 days of the challenge. I have my vacation this week, so I'm going to see if I can add an extra walk here and there. Again, you guys have my word. I'm not going to do any crazy dieting or anything weird, which means I'm more than likely not going to hit my 30-pound goal. But I already got confirmation from all of my venters that you guys are all going to stay with me. So if you look back at those first couple of videos, one of the things that I talked about was that a lot of times things will happen for me from day 90 to 100, and I wasn't BSing you guys. So the good news is I might actually lose just a couple of pounds this week, but I have a feeling that the next 10 days after that, so basically 5 plus 10, that's 2 weeks, I have a feeling I will be down 25 or 30 pounds. Which again, I don't know if you guys agree or not, but even if you're only down a handful of pounds and you're starting to notice inches coming off, guys, I still consider that a win. Do you guys agree with me when I say 3 months ago seems like yesterday? So let's talk real quick about this next 90-month period that we're going to be going into. And of course, I'm going to be hitting it first along with Lily and GL and a couple of others like Kate, right? But the reality is a lot of you guys are a couple weeks behind, or maybe even a month or so behind. Make sure you stick to your 90-day challenge. Don't jump into the second one. Just stick to your first one, because we're all doing the same thing regardless, right? But I think we're going to have some great results. I think we've all tipped the scale in our favor, and we're all in a new season. That's the most important thing. 90 days ago, you guys were in a season that included not walking, that included drinking the drinks that you wanted and eating the sweets that you had availability to. Now we're in a new season. This new season is Mala, where she's been walking for 2 or 3 months. It's Mala, where she's 4 or 5 pounds down. It's Kate Dean, where she's 4.5 pounds down since last month. It's Lily, where she's 11 pounds since last season, okay? 11 pounds down. Why do I bring that up? Because technically speaking, you're in a slightly different weight class, right? Now when I talk to you about avoiding sugars, it doesn't sound so scary like it might have sounded 3 months ago. You're in a different season now. Now, you don't have to learn to walk faster. You're naturally walking faster, which, by the way, I never ever tell anybody to walk fast. I actually suggest that if you're on your first couple walks, walk slow, take a look at your neighbor's house, enjoy the neighborhood, because I'm sure you guys have all noticed pretty quickly, when you're 2, 3, 4 weeks into your walking routine, you're gonna be booking it. Right now, I'm walking probably around a mile every 20 minutes, right? So the 30-minute walk in the morning is probably about 1.5 miles, give or take a couple steps, right? When I go to the gym, I'm able to walk a little bit closer to 4 mile per hour pace, so about 1 mile every 15 minutes. But what I recommend you do is just walk at your normal pace, because I'm not fibbing you when I tell you, you're gonna start walking naturally faster. And I think the reason that I partially walk slower in the morning is because of this 30-pound camera. How much would that slow you down? You know, normally when you walk, you don't have one arm moving back and forth. You normally have both, unless you're holding like a purse or, you know, a bag or something, right? So again, as we continue, man, you guys are walkers now. There's a difference. You know, the first month or so, we had to get you introduced to walking, get you upping your walking from 1 30-minute walk to maybe 2, right? Well, now you guys are at that level. Keep going. If you're brand new, here's what I urge you to do. Don't wait until 5 or 6 days from now. Start walking now, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes. Don't try to force yourself into a 2-hour walking routine every day. Just start with 15 or 20 minutes. What'll happen is you'll start to notice, hey, I like this walking thing. Jesse wasn't lying. There's something to this walking thing. And what'll happen is instead of 15 minutes, you'll want to up that to a higher level. Oh, this is gross. It looks like somebody threw up. And it looks like the birds are eating it. Oh, maybe it's not throw up. I think it's just water with some bread. Somebody dropped some bread for the birdies. And they seem to like it. I saw a picture the other day. You guys might have saw this. I don't know if it was a blooper video or what, but I think it was from like a couple days ago. In other words, I think it was a fresh video. It showed some lady working for the news doing her reporter story, and a bird landed on her head for a split second and then flew off. I thought that was hilarious. I would consider that a blessing, though. I wouldn't consider that a blooper, even though it did look kind of funny. Because think about it, if a bird lands on you, God, do you know how many times I've held out a hand trying to talk a bird into landing on my arm? That doesn't happen. That never happens. That is a blessing, you know? This looks like a Charger or a Dart, some sort of muscle car, right? On the back plate, it said 2014. Which is really shocking. I look at some of these cars like the Dart and the Charger that were made popular by, Dukes of Hazzard, the new version, right? And it's hard for me to believe. Those cars have been around for 15 years now? Maybe a couple years longer. That Dukes of Hazzard movie with Jessica Simpson, that movie's probably getting ready to turn 20 years old. I know this might sound weird, but I remember in the year 2000 with my family, I was walking in, I believe it was Walmart. And if you remember, they had the Blu-ray and the CD and the DVD bin where you could go and buy movies, right? And they had a 15-year anniversary edition of the Back to the Future trilogy. And this is where life gets a little scary for me, because that seemed like yesterday. And now we have movies that literally did feel like they weren't that long ago, like the Dukes of Hazzard remake with Jessica Simpson. And all of a sudden, those movies are turning 20. And Back to the Future came out, I believe, in 1985. So all of a sudden, Back to the Future is 15 years at the century mark, plus 24 years. Do you guys realize that Back to the Future is getting ready to turn 39 or 40 years old? That's kind of creepy. I can't believe that movie is that old. Can you? That's crazy. I think if people were to see Back to the Future now, and when I say people, I'm talking about young kids and teenagers and young adults. God, how do they view that movie that I saw as ahead of its time? Do they look at that movie and do they think, oh, turn this thing's an old movie. I want to watch something new and fresh? Because I just can't imagine people rejecting Back to the Future. And I don't think people should reject Back to the Future, because I think it's still one of the best trilogies ever, you know? So, all right, so there's one of the zombie homeless people. I don't know if she's homeless, but she's talking about her social security number, so she must be in another world.